That sucked. I have nothing better to say other than that. And you can't hear him, you can't see it, but producer Searle's cracking up right now. That game sucked, man. And it sucks because it happens every year. Every single year, basically, in the Dan Lanning era, but it happened in the Mark Helfrich era. It happened in the Chip Kelly era. Every single year when it feels like it's the Ducks' year, they find a way to blow it or a freak injury happens. I mean, shoot, even in the Mike Bellotti era, Dennis Dixon getting randomly hurt, poor knee injury. The Ducks just don't feel like a team that are supposed to be a national championship team because it feels like maybe a higher power doesn't want them to be. This is the Oregon Football Report. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and what a bummer way to end such a great season. Because if you look at it from a Ducks perspective, is this the farthest that a team has gone? No, absolutely not. It's not as far as the team that played Auburn in the national championship. It's not as far as Marcus Mariota's team that played in the national championship against Ohio State. But it's a team that did pretty darn well, and they got to win multiple college football playoff games, something that hasn't happened at Oregon football. And I understand you beat a Texas Tech team in the Orange Bowl. That's still a pretty good win, but the JMU win maybe not as impressive as maybe you wanted it to be. But to go into a game that you felt pretty confident about, I felt pretty confident about, in a Peach Bowl where, hey, look, I understand that you're missing some running backs. I understand that there's some players in the transfer portal. I understand that this team is not exactly where it needs to be or where it wants to be. Still felt like you had a pretty good shot to win this game, and to be blown out and have this game be done by basically the end of the first quarter just couldn't have been worse. Couldn't have been worse. What's your one-word reaction so far to this Oregon football loss in the Peach Bowl? Right now, it's, to me, disappointing. It's disappointing because it felt like you were finally ready to take that step. It felt like this was going to be the game that really determined the national champion, and I don't think I can say that anymore because I don't think that Miami gets blown out by this Indiana team. We're going to dive into all the stats and what everything was going on in this game, but we're also going to look at some big questions that have to be answered for the Oregon Ducks, and unfortunately, we're going to have to get uncomfortable in this one. When you look at the two-team comp right now for Oregon versus Indiana, I think if I hid the points and I hid the turnovers, you would look at this game and go, wow, it was just as good as the college football semifinal game in the Fiesta Bowl. It was just as good as Ole Miss Miami. It was going to be back and forth. But this game wasn't. You can't take away the turnovers. You can't take away the points. And the turnovers in this one directly led to Indiana scoring a ton of points. I went into this game saying that it was going to be between Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore for the number one pick in the draft. And the winner was going to be the number one pick in this upcoming NFL draft. And he will be. It'll be Fernando Mendoza. It will 100% be Fernando Mendoza. He was essentially perfect in this game. He threw an incomplete ball where a player collided with a defender. So he had two incomplete passes that were both around where his players were at. Fernando Mendoza had 5 touchdowns in this game, and he didn't put the ball in harm's way once. Now, I do have to tip my cap to Cooper and Surratt and the rest of that receiving crew for the Hoosiers because there were multiple catches in this game where I thought, wow, that's an incredible catch on a 50-50 ball. But they came down with it every single freaking time. Every single freaking time. Those wide receivers for the Indiana Hoosiers came down with the ball. And so we're at a point now where I'd love to be upset. I'd love to be more angry, but I can't be. Mendoza played great. The rushing attack in this game, I said you had to find a way to stop it. I wouldn't say that you stopped it. You slowed it down, but here's the problem. While Hemby didn't have maybe the most explosive game of his career, still set up Fernando Mendoza in a lot of third and shorts that you weren't able to stop. Kalon Black was actually, to me, the more impressive running back between the duo, and he's kind of the thunder to the lightning, and he's kind of the second string guy. Although it's really more like a 1A, 1B. Kalon Black's definitely 1B in that situation. Over 5 yards of carry. He ran down the throat of the Oregon Ducks, and there was one play where he absolutely ran over Dylan Thieneman. I was hoping that would have gotten fixed. Didn't get fixed from the first game. When you look at Elijah Surratt, absolutely killed the Oregon Ducks. Absolutely killed them down in Eugene. Thought that Oregon would make a change. They didn't. They didn't. Flat out. He was awesome in this game. Had multiple catches for touchdowns. Had multiple catches that were big plays. Had maybe the most insane catch of the game. Although I do think I'm going to give that to Jeremiah McClellan. It was just so impressive what this team was able to do. Indiana just continued to make play after play after play. And the more that I got to watch this Indiana Hoosiers team, the more that I realized that they didn't make a single mistake. And we went into this game saying they weren't going to make many mistakes. They had the opportunity to make mistakes in the first game and still come away with a victory. The Ducks were going to have to force those mistakes to happen. And they didn't. Indiana was perfect. Fernando Mendoza was perfect. Hemby was perfect. Surratt was perfect. Cooper was perfect. Signetti was perfect. And the Ducks just, frankly, they weren't. Dante Moore, his stat line's going to end up looking okay, except for the sack yardage, except for the turnovers. His stat line on here doesn't even show the full extent of how bad it was because he had 2 fumbles. Now, the RPO one, it's a little bit on him. It's a little bit on Hill. The sack, you got to feel that pressure coming. It's more so on your right tackle there, but you have to feel the pressure and be able to tuck the football away. And the pick 6 interception to start the game, it really should have told us what this game was going to look like. Drops back to throw and immediately gives it to the defense, and it's easy pick 6 for Pond. Dante Moore sucked in this game. He just did. He looked like the moment was too big for him. I don't feel good saying that about him. He's a kid. I mean, we're both in our 20s, but he's a kid. I shouldn't be saying that about him. He didn't look good. It looked like the lights got a little bit too bright. I wonder if he falls out of Mel Kiper's spot as the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft. Dierre Hill had a great run. Had a great run in this one. A long of 71 yards. Didn't really do much else. I hate that the Ducks only gave him the football 5 times, but it was clear that they wanted to run in between the tackles because they didn't think that they were going to be able to get to the edges on this Indiana team, and they didn't, aside from that one Hill run. A lot of Hills with Jay Harris up the middle. I get it. Sucked not having Jordan Davis in there. Sucked not having Noah Whittington there. The rushing attack isn't why you sucked in this game. Kenyon Sadiq. A lot of nothing stats in this game. A lot of nothing stats in this game. Cool, man. You had 5 catches. Cool. You had 30 yards. Most of that came when the game was long over. Now, is that all on Kenyon Sadiq? No, of course not. Some of it's on the play calling. Some of it's on where Dante Moore was looking. Some of it's on the offense. A whole bunch of things surround why Kenyon Sadiq didn't have necessarily the best game. But I got a text message from a friend of mine who was a big Oregon duck honk, I should say. And he told me straight up, he goes, why does it feel like in most of the big games, Kenyon Sadiq disappears? And I don't know if that's completely true because he had a big game against USC, if I remember correctly, but I did kind of expect more out of him. He came into this game saying, well, I wasn't healthy in the last matchup. Imagine what I'm going to do in this one. I don't know, man. Looks pretty similar to what you did in the first one. It's a brutal end of the year because it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Now, I do want to look at some of the positives because you only have losses to the Indiana Hoosiers, the team that I do believe will eventually be the national champion. I think that's progress. The other thing to talk about when it comes to Dan Lanning, he's done a great job of year after year after year making sure that this team just gets a little bit better, it gets a little bit better, and a little bit better. So now that he's gotten this team to the semifinal, I do believe that they still have a shot to continue to push forward. In fact, I think as long as it's a home run hire with Drew Maringer and our new defensive coordinator that's coming in, guy that's getting promoted from within, I think the Ducks still have a really darn good shot at getting back to this spot next year, maybe even beyond. Grade the Ducks' performance versus Indiana, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know down below in the comment section. I think if you're giving them anything above a D, you frankly don't know ball. That's just personally where I'm at right now. If you're not giving the Ducks anything worse than a D, you don't know ball. They looked really bad in this game. It sucks. It's an unfortunate way to end the year. Now we got to dive into some uncomfortable conversations because now it's time to look at the 2026 year and beyond. And the first question is easy. What will Dante Moore do? What's QB1 going to do? When you look into this offseason, he's obviously one of the high picks in the next upcoming NFL draft. I know that he didn't play great in this game. I understand it. Doesn't matter. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft if he comes out. At worst, he'll be top 10. At worst. Todd McShay thinks so. Mel Kiper Jr. thinks so. Field Yates thinks so. Boogler, whatever his name is, Dane, he thinks so. There's a lot of NFL experts that continue to say that Dante Moore is going to be a top pick in the draft. So why wouldn't he go out? Maybe because he thinks that he has some unfinished business left to do at Oregon. We got to find out, and we got to find out soon, because we know right now there's guys like Sam Levitt, Dylan Raiola that are waiting in the transfer portal. They're waiting to find out what Dante Moore is going to do, because it feels like everyone wants to get to Oregon with how good and young this team is this year and the good young talent that's coming into Oregon. But it all hinges on Dante Moore. Is he going to decide to come back to Eugene, or is he not? And the minute that he's not, call Sam Levitt. But that's just my opinion. If he decides to stay, then you're fine. Next, how are the coaching changes going to affect this Oregon team? I will say this about Tosh Lupoi. I think that he's a dang good coach and a great recruiter. I have some issues with some of the play calling that he had as the defensive coordinator. Is Oregon going to be able to make some changes? Now, I know whoever's at DC is still going to end up obviously having to answer to Dan Lanning. That's what Tosh Lupoi had to do, right? Tosh Lupoi, he got a lot of say, but he didn't always have the final say. That's where Dan Lanning's going to come in. What's going to happen next year? When you look at this offense, Will Stein, he's a great OC. Is Drew Maringer going to be able to take that next step forward? Is he going to be able to help this offense not just do the same that it did under Will Stein, but really freaking grow? Is he going to be able to help push this team forward the way that it needs to be pushed forward? I don't know. We're going to find out. We are certainly going to find out next year, because this team is talented enough to put themselves back in this position. The last uncomfortable question, and it feels weird, it feels sad to have to say it. We ever going to win it all? Are the Ducks ever going to come out on top? Are the Ducks ever going to get to a position where they can win a national title? They have the talent, it feels like. Feels like they have the right coach. Feels like they have the right scheme. Feels like they've had the right quarterback a couple of times. And for whatever reason, haven't been able to get there. Mariota's team just got beat. Dennis Dixon's knee went the wrong way. Dierre was down against Auburn. This team just wasn't ready. Feels like Dante Moore could be the guy. So hopefully he does come back. But unfortunately right now, when you haven't done it, when you haven't won the title, it feels like you got to keep asking yourself that. Will this Oregon team ever be able to win a title? Because after watching this performance, I think they will. But it didn't feel good. I'm going to ask you down below in the comment section, will the Ducks ever be able to win a title? Yes or no? And frankly, expand upon it. Let me know why they will or won't be able to win that title. I think that they'll get there eventually. Unfortunately, this won't be that year. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Here's the thing. We're not just going to be done covering the Ducks because it is the offseason. We will be covering you for transfer portal news, for recruiting news in the high school landscape. We'll be doing spring ball stuff, fall camp stuff. Make sure that you hit that sub button. We are going to be here to cover the Oregon Ducks all year long, so don't miss out on that opportunity. Thank you guys so much, and unfortunately, I'm saying this in a sad way tonight. Let's go Ducks.